It should probably surprise no one that I'm not a fan of Warner Bros. Games. I don't believe that they've done much in the way of anything good. In fact, I don't think Warner Bros. As a whole has done anything good. I haven't made much in the way of videos regarding Warner Bros. Than I have other game companies like Ubisoft, for example. But it really does kind of go to show just what's going on in the gaming space, especially when you look at a company like Warner Brothers, because I'm not actually going to be specifically talking about the cancellation of the, well, I guess to some extent I'll probably be talking about the cancellation of the Wonder Woman game. I'm not going to really be talking about Warner Bros. In general, because there's something more important to talk about, and that is actually Monolith Productions. So what I'm going to do is do a quick run through of what the actual story is regarding Warner Brothers, and then from there we're going to go through and actually talk about the history of games that were made by Monolith Productions. And I'm going to be talking about some of the games that I personally have loved from this developer, because surprisingly enough, even though I've not talked about Monolith Productions, I certainly have loved the games they've made in the past. So let's talk about, firstly and foremost, Warner Bros. Games cancelling Wonder Woman, which was being developed by Monolith Productions, and they're also closing down 3 studios. So those 3 studios being Monolith Productions, Play First Games, and Warner Bros. Games San Diego. No. Worth pointing in mind, Player First Games, that should be a name that should be familiar to pretty much all of gaming at this point. Player First Games are the guys who made Multiverses, and keeping in mind that they only bought Player First Games, I keep saying Player First Games in the middle of 2024. So they bought the company in 2024, midway through. I think it was like June, July-ish, to something to that extent. And so what they ended up doing was shutting down Multiverses, which I think is going to happen in May, and then completely shut down the studio. Cool, that's what you'd buy a studio for. You don't keep studios around, so you just buy them and close them. But anyway, it's clear that they didn't get the money they wanted from actually selling the game, and people weren't buying the microtransactions. People weren't vibing with Multiverses as a whole. And Warner Bros. San Diego, keeping in mind, did stuff like Lord of the Rings Online and games along those in that area. But yeah, Warner Bros. Discovery is making even more changes to its troubled gaming division, and troubled is a very good word, keeping in mind that we've had games like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, among other things, which are still being owned by Warner Bros., keeping in mind. As reported by Bloomberg, the company's gaming division is cancelling the Wonder Woman game, announced in 2021, and announced 3 studios are shutting down, as I mentioned earlier. Warner Bros. Discovery confirmed the changes in a statement to Kotaku's Ethan Gach. We have made some very difficult decisions to structure our development studio and investments around building the best games possible with our key franchises. And those key franchises they're focusing on are Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. Now you might be thinking there, sitting there and thinking to yourself, hold on, Wonder Woman. Isn't she part of one of the key franchises that you guys are talking about? Specifically DC, which I would say yes. Wonder Woman is one of the 3 most well-known characters in DC, aside from Batman and Superman, obviously. But then you might think, hold on, more people know about Flash, more people know about Green Lantern, and the only reason why is because those characters have had their own movies, whereas, Wonder Woman has not got her own well-done movie in a long-ass time, ever since Gal Gadot became Wonder Woman. And even Gal Gadot's performances as Wonder Woman are god-awful. The line delivery for some of those clips, my god, it hurts me on the inside. Wonder Woman 1984? No. 1844? Whatever. The last Wonder Woman movie. Holy crap. Hot garbage. Anyway, moving on from that. Also, apparently, and I could be completely wrong about this, people who have been following comic book related stuff, especially on the DC side, may have noticed that I think when it comes to James Gunn, each time he does something, or maybe it wasn't him, it was the person before him who was looking after all of these productions under the DC umbrella, is that they tried not to confuse the audience by doing a single superhero thing at a time. What I mean by that is that if they're making a Wonder Woman movie, for example, they're not going to make a Wonder Woman game, and they're not going to make a Wonder Woman show. But if they're making a Wonder Woman show, they're not going to make a movie or a game. And if they're making a game, they're not going to make a movie or a show. So they're only working on one specific high-profile project at a time when it comes per character. So it almost seems like as if this was cancelled only for them wanting to use Wonder Woman in somewhere else, like a movie or a game. Not a game, a movie or a, what's it called? A show. That being said, more people know about, like I said, about Green Lantern, about Flash, and Flash is a movie that did, in fact, fail, the one that had Ezra Miller in it, all things considered. I thought that was a fine movie, but again, like, it wasn't particularly good, which is worth keeping in mind. I feel like it's just, definitely, that Flash movie was just empty calories in the form of a movie. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's what's happening. DC is crumbling, while Marvel is thriving, and unfortunately Warner Bros. Is going down with the ship, all things considered. I also kind of just want to mention Coyote vs. Acme, which is a movie that was created and never released, ultimately because what happened was Warner Brothers just wanted to not release the movie and just have like a tax write-off, which it didn't even make that much money back in the end. So that's unfortunate to see with a movie that people actually wanted to see and was apparently pretty good, given internal estimates for review numbers. So that's just a little pin on the cap, so to speak, so we can talk about pretty much the main thing I wanted to talk about: Monolith Productions. Oh my god, Monolith Productions. Goddamn, man. That's such a cool logo too. Anyway, it's just sad to see logo 2017 to 2025 because they now shut down effectively. So let's talk about their games. There's two very specific franchises from these guys that I absolutely love. So obviously we're going to work our way backwards. So we know Wonder Woman cancelled. We have the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games. So why talk? Okay, so the Middle Earth games, worth keeping in mind, they feature the Nemesis system. A lot of people have talked about this. The patent is still being owned by WB. Unfortunately, I don't think they'll be doing anything with it because the company that came up with the idea and the only company to implement it is now shut down. So I don't think that there's going to be any real use of the Nemesis system moving forward, despite the fact that it is an incredibly cool idea. Everyone universally agrees, at least everyone I've seen on the internet universally looks at the Middle Earth games and thinks to themselves, yes, this is actually a really cool product. I don't know why WB doesn't use it more, despite the fact that they patented the damn thing. Anyway, but yeah, moving on from that, two franchises that I absolutely love are Condemned and Fear. Granted, Fear 3 was developed by a different developer, and that was clear as day when you really think about it, because of the fact that it was more focused on cooperative play rather than, playing by yourself, which is what Fear is normally really good with. The dark and dreary atmosphere of Fear 1 and Fear 2 were excellently done. I think there is very little negative things that I could say about Fear. It's a first-person shooter, and it has very decent horror vibes, because you might think, hold on, if you're playing a horror game but you've got a gun, can't you just shoot at the thing that scares you? But the problem is that you cannot hurt the thing that you are shooting at. That's where the rub is. The game is so dark, you don't know where to shoot. Fear makes a really, really good backdrop for what a really, really good Alien game can be. Because we got Alien Colonial Marines, don't get me wrong, but that could have been so much better if they took the time and played Fear 1 and Fear 2. If they had played those two games and took the idea of how really dark it is to the point where you can't even see where you're going, you don't have a flashlight, maybe do some freaky alternate atmosphere type of thing, like everything just kind of covered in ruins, a little bit of flashing lights here and there, and Alma waiting in the corner and clever areas. Use all of that, but apply it in the Alien universe. You pass like some sort of what looks like a broken screen on a wall, but it turns on and it plays some music or something. There's some really good ways of building atmosphere that I think they really dropped the ball with a game like Aliens, Colonial, or Marines. And the reason why I'm using that as an example is because that's the closest thing I could think of that could learn really good lessons from the Fear franchise. And I feel like a lot of other games really should do as well, but have not even come close to how well done. Like I said, the atmosphere is, and Fear 2 is a culmination of all of those things. Condemned also was an absolutely fascinating franchise that unfortunately hasn't really seen a return since 2008, which is really sad to see. I am going to get a physical copy of Condemned 2 Bloodshot, because the only time I played that, or last time I did I should say, was pretty much when I borrowed it from a friend, so I do want to get like a physical copy of it for myself. But when it comes to Condemned 2 Bloodshot, that was more of a letdown of a Condemned game, because Condemned Criminal Origins, excellent horror game. Condemned 2 Bloodshot, on the other hand, excellent first half, very disappointing second half. So I just thought that was kind of worth mentioning for a little bit of posterity. But outside of that, Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, excellent games. Gotham City Imposters, that was a fascinating one. I don't know if they were given the license for DC to make that, but yeah. That was also a fun time until they shut down the service, all things considered. Didn't know they worked on Matrix Online. That was just kind of an interesting thing to talk about. But yeah, I just specifically wanted to talk about Fear and Condemned, to be completely honest. I feel like I could make an individual video on those two franchises alone, and it would be fairly long. But also just the fact that this is a storied history of a development studio that just didn't need to cark it, if I'm being completely honest, all things considered. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by the end of the year. And with all that being said, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.